I opened the envelope, expecting a card, maybe a few dollars, but instead, I found a letter that shattered my entire life and a secret my own sister had been hiding for 25 years. How could someone so close betray me in the cruelest way imaginable? And why did Grandpa let it go on for decades? The night it all came crashing down started like any other family gathering in our quiet Chicago suburb. Pot roast simmering in the oven, the smell of rosemary and garlic thick in the air, kids running underfoot, and my sister Lauren holding court in my own damn kitchen like she owned the place. She didn't. I did. Barely. The mortgage was still choking me every month, but the house was mine, bought with 23 years of double shifts at St. Mary's Hospital and every overtime hour I could steal. I was turning 48 that night. 48 years old, and I still checked the mail every day like a lunatic hoping for a miracle that never came. Lauren breezed in at 6 sharp, designer coat over her arm, diamonds flashing on her wrist, her husband David trailing behind with 2 bottles of wine that probably cost more than my weekly grocery budget. She kissed my cheek with that same fake sweet smile she'd perfected since we were teenagers. "Happy birthday, Claire," she sang and pressed the gift bag into my hands. "You're going to love this, cashmere." Of course it was cashmere. Lauren only gave gifts that reminded you how poor you were. Grandpa Harold arrived last, driven by his nurse from the assisted living facility in Evanston. 92 years old, oxygen tank rolling behind him like a loyal dog, but his eyes were sharper than ever. He hugged me longer than usual, bony arms surprisingly strong, and whispered against my hair, "We're doing this tonight, kiddo, just like we planned." I nodded, throat tight. My heart had been jackhammering for weeks. Because 3 months earlier, I'd finally learned the truth. It started with a water stain. Our parents died when I was 23. Drunk driver on Lakeshore Drive, Christmas Eve 2000. Dad's Buick crumpled like tin foil. Mom gone on impact. Dad 2 days later in ICU. I was home from college for break. Lauren already married to David, the investment banker. Grandpa Harold flew in from Florida, took care of everything. Funeral, probate, the works. I remember sitting in the lawyer's office in January, snow piling against the windows, Lauren crying prettily into a Kleenex while the attorney said there was nothing left after medical bills and funeral costs. House sold to pay debts, a small life insurance policy that barely covered my last semester of nursing school. Grandpa looked heartbroken, said he wished he could do more, but his money was tied up in annuities. Lauren patted my hand. "We'll get through this together, Claire." 2 months later, she and David bought the 5-bedroom colonial in Winnetka. David got a big bonus, she explained airily when I asked how they could afford it. I believed her. Why wouldn't I? She was my big sister. She'd always taken care of me. So I worked. God, did I work. Night shifts in the ER, weekends in labor and delivery, holidays so other nurses could be with their families. Ryan and I married in 2005 in the backyard because we couldn't afford a venue. Honeymoon was a long weekend in Wisconsin Dells. We bought this fixer-upper in 2009 with an FHA loan and prayers. I cried the day we moved in because it had 3 bedrooms, one for us, one for each kid. Lauren sent a bottle of Dom Perignon and a note, "So proud of you for doing it on your own." I hated that bottle. Drank it anyway. The kids grew up wearing hand-me-downs from cousins. Sophie wanted to do travel softball. We couldn't swing the $4,000 a year. Ethan dreamed of engineering camp at Purdue. We sent him to the state park for bird watching with the Soutich Troop. Local community college summer program instead. Every time I tucked them in, I swallowed the guilt like acid. I'm sorry I can't give you more. Lauren's kids went to private school.
took skiing trips to Aspen, had college funds that could choke a horse. I told myself life wasn't fair, told myself to be grateful for what we had, told myself Lauren deserved her good fortune. She'd married well, worked hard as a lifestyle influencer before that was even a thing. Then came the water stain. Last spring, the ceiling in Mom and Dad's old storage room, now our guest room, started leaking. Ryan cut a hole to check the pipes and found a metal lockbox wedged in the insulation, wrapped in plastic like someone wanted it hidden forever. Inside, birth certificates, Mom's good jewelry, and a fat manila envelope addressed to me in Grandpa's handwriting. My hands shook so badly I could barely open it. Inside was a letter dated January 15th, 2001. My dearest Claire, if you're reading this, something went wrong. I set up a trust for you, $3 million in blue chip stocks and bonds, to be released to you on your 25th birthday or upon my death, whichever came first. Lauren knows. She's co-trustee with the attorney, Mr. Langford. I wanted you to have security, to never worry the way your parents sometimes did. I love you more than words, kiddo. Grandpa. There was a second page, account numbers, the name of the trust, the Claire Elizabeth Harper Irrevocable Trust, and a phone number for Langford and Associates. I called the number with fingers that wouldn't stop trembling. Mr. Langford retired in 2018. His son took over the practice and pulled the file after I told him who I was. The trust had been liquidated in 2004. Signature on the dissolution paperwork, Claire E. Harper. My signature, perfectly forged. Lauren had drained every penny 3 years after our parents died, while I was working double shifts to pay rent on a studio apartment in Rogers Park. I drove to Grandpa's facility that same day. He cried when I showed him the letter. Great shaking sobs that terrified the nurses. She told me you didn't want it. Said you were angry I hadn't done the same for her, that you wanted to make it on your own. Showed me an email from your address saying you were renouncing the trust. I was heartbroken, but I believed her. She was 29. Thought maybe you were right. He clutched my hand. I'm so sorry, Claire Bear. I failed you. No, I said fiercely. She failed us. We hired a forensic accountant quietly. Took weeks, but the trail was there. Money transferred to an account in Lauren's name only, then used as down payment on the Winnetka house, then rolled into investments, offshore accounts, the whole bit. Compound interest over 25 years, closer to $9 million now. Criminal fraud, felony level. I wanted to confront her right then, drive to that perfect house and scream in her perfect face. Grandpa stopped me. He begged, let me help fix this, one last time. So we planned. He still had friends, old money Chicago, judges he'd golf with in the 80s, attorneys who owed him favors from when he testified as an expert witness. We built a case airtight enough to choke a whale, subpoenas ready to fly the second we gave the word. But Grandpa wanted more than money. She took your dignity, he said. Let's give it back in front of everyone who ever looked at you with pity. My birthday dinner. She always came, always brought the most expensive gifts, always made sure everyone saw. Perfect. The night arrived. Lauren dominated conversation from the moment she sat down. Her charity gala, Olivia's acceptance to Duke, full ride, of course, the new Porsche Cayenne. David chuckled along, already half drunk. My kids exchanged glances. Even they were sick of her. I served the pot roast myself. Hands steady now. Ryan squeezed my knee under the table. Grandpa waited until dessert. Lauren was mid-sentence. Honestly, Claire, you should let me connect you with my decorator. This kitchen is so 2008, when Grandpa cleared his throat. Everyone quieted, even the kids. I have an announcement, he said, voice surprisingly strong. A birthday gift for my granddaughter. He pulled a thick folder from the bag at his feet. Lauren's smile faltered. Grandpa, what?
25 years ago, he began, after my son and daughter-in-law were taken from us, I set up a trust for Claire. $3 million. Enough to give her the security her parents always wanted for her. The room went dead silent. Lauren's face drained of blood. Grandpa, I don't... He held up a hand. You told me Claire didn't want it, showed me forged documents, an email from her account you clearly hacked or created. Then you stole every penny while she worked herself to death raising her family. He opened the folder, slid photocopies across the table. Bank statements, the forged signature, the transfer records. I've spent the last 3 months gathering evidence, with help from some old friends at the FBI, actually. Lauren Elizabeth Harper, you are looking at federal wire fraud, mail fraud, forgery, and theft. Minimum 20 years, they tell me. Lauren's mouth opened and closed like a fish. David looked like he was going to vomit. You knew? He stammered. Lauren tried to stand. This is insane. She's always been jealous. Sit down, I said quietly. For the first time in my life, she obeyed. I leaned forward. You watched me cry because we couldn't afford Ethan's braces. You sent Sophie to public school when she got bullied so badly she stopped eating. You bought a vacation home in Napa the same year Ryan's plant closed, and we lived off credit cards for 8 months. My voice shook but didn't break. You smiled in my face while I worked Christmas Eve so some other nurse could have the holiday with her family. I looked around the table, my cousins, aunts, uncles, all staring at Lauren like she was something stuck to their shoe. You all wondered why I never got ahead, why Ryan and I still drove the same 2012 minivan, why our vacations were always camping in Indiana Dunes. This is why. Lauren started sobbing. I was going to pay it back. Grandpa laughed, a dry, bitter sound. With interest, after 25 years of lying? David stood up slowly. I want a divorce, he said clearly, and I'm calling our lawyer tonight. Lauren screamed his name, but he was already walking out. The kids, her kids, were crying. Olivia whispered, Mom, how could you? I looked at my own children. Sophie's eyes were shining with tears. But Ethan was smiling. A fierce, proud smile that made my heart crack open. Grandpa reached over and took my hand. The money's already been frozen. Every account. The house goes on the market next week. You'll get every penny back plus interest. And criminal charges filed tomorrow morning unless you sign the restitution agreement tonight. He slid another document across the table. Lauren stared at it like it was a death sentence, because it kind of was. Her reputation, her social circle, her whole carefully constructed life, gone by morning. The Winnetka moms would eat her alive. The country club would cancel her membership before brunch. She signed with shaking hands. I didn't smile, didn't gloat. I just felt light. Like 25 years of weight had finally lifted off my chest. Later, after the police came, because of course we called them, let her spend at least one night in Cook County Jail. After family members hugged me and apologized for ever believing her lies,
After Ryan held me while I cried in the laundry room because it was finally over, Grandpa pulled me aside. "You did good, kiddo," he whispered. "Your parents would be so proud." He died 3 months later, peacefully, in his sleep, with my hand in his. We buried him next to Mom and Dad. I used the first check from the restitution, $9.4 million, to buy the plot and a beautiful headstone. Lauren got 8 years in the end. Plea deal. Lost everything. Last I heard, she was working at a car wash in Aurora, living in a 1-bedroom with her mother, who still won't speak to her. David married his 29-year-old yoga instructor. The kids changed their last names to his mother's maiden name. And me? I paid off the house, sent both my kids to whatever college they wanted, Sophie to Northwestern, Ethan to MIT. We took the kids, our kids, to Italy last summer. Ryan finally retired from the factory and opened the wood shop he always dreamed of. Some nights I still wake up at 3 a.m., heart racing, checking the bank app like it might all disappear. But it never does, because I earned every penny of that money twice. Once when Grandpa gave it to me, and again when I survived 25 years without it. And Lauren? She finally paid it back with everything.